Hi guys, welcome back to AJ Club Sport, the place where we share our passion for GRs. Today I'm going to be talking of catch cans, the why and the how. This is a topic we have touched lightly recently, but I want to go in detail and show you what I decided to do for my own car in this case. So first of all, why do people install catch cans and why is this important on the GR? So, in the case of our car, basically the Gen 1 is now, let's say, official and quite public, has got a piston and piston ring design that leaves room for improvement. Hence, this is where most of the failures happen in heavily tuned cars nowadays. And in particular, it's a matter of, apart from the piston design, it's a matter of design of the piston rings and material, where the tolerancing and the way the material itself works makes possible that in determined conditions, the oil blows by the piston rings and goes into the detonation chamber. And this has also led to big issues like a mega death that happened to Acme's development car and other less notorious events around Europe. So it's something to keep in check and know that it could happen. And myself, in sometimes I would say within 50k kilometers, I'll just forge my engine and have operated pistons, just either the ones from the Gen 2 or full forged pistons. I will see. All the same, back to the catch can. Basically, where does the oil go from your engine when the oil consumes? So you go to Toyota, you have your service, and after some 1,000 kilometers, you check your dipstick, and you see that, I don't know, half a liter of oil is missing, something like that. And you say, well, you never think, where does that oil actually go? Okay, so in this modern engine, what happens is a bit of the oil is consumed by the scavenging of the engine itself. A bit of the oil, burns, and a bit of the oil instead goes, most of the oil, let's say, all the way up through the oil passages in the crankcase. And it goes all the way up because as the pistons create pressure in the base engine on the bottom end, this pressure pushes the oil up. So this is the residual oil from the pressure on top of the pressure of the oil circuit that comes from the pan and from moving around the crank. So what happens is it goes all the way up around where your cams are, and from there, with this additional pressure, it wants to go and get out because there is positive pressure and quite a bit when you're pushing the car or when the car is cold also. So what have they studied? Like in most modern cars, they studied a system called PCV, that is positive crankcase ventilation. And if you take your engine cover off, you will see that there is an actual tube running from the crankcase cover all the way to your intake hose that goes to the turbo. Very near to the turbo, on looking at the engine on the rear part on the left. So this hose basically runs everything that is ventilated through this PCV that has the objective of separating the oil from the air, let's say the misty air that comes from the engine and from this positive pressure, and sending just the air through back into the intake. And in this way also the vacuum created by the intake itself helps by extracting this positive air coming from the PCV, therefore helping the PCV in its own job. And it's just rerouted inside and goes through the compressor, the intercooler, and back with all the rest of the intake air so the two tracks meet, and it mixes with your combustion air, let's say, your charge pipe air. So what does this mean? Basically, the PCV, no PCV I've ever seen, works 100% because oil under pressure and under heat conditions also becomes mist. So it's very difficult to separate with a simple PCV valve. So what happens is that a lot of oil is rerouted through your intake and it mixes with the fresh air that is coming from your intake system. And basically, this misty oil goes and dirties all your intercooler pipes and everything, and plus degrades the capacity of combustion of the engine itself, therefore leading to sooting everywhere, to getting everything dirty, including your intake valves, and leading also to more possible detonation, because in a, let's say, concentration that is big enough, the oil itself brings to detonation just by heat. So this lowers, in real life, the octane rating of your fuel. And we all know that whatever fuel we put, the octane rating is not enough in these cars. So once again, when you check your oil and you see that every, 3,000, 4,000 kilometers, maybe you are missing half a liter of oil or something, half a kilo, you know that that half a kilo of oil has probably transformed into mist and is inside your intercooler and is inside your engine and is now either liquid inside the intercooler sloshing back and forth, or it is actually carbon deposits that became carbon through the extreme heat in your intake valves, combustion chamber, and all in all also has been vaporized through the actual detonations in the engine, and therefore is no longer there because it went outside of the exhaust. And you can also see, both because of that direct injection and because of this, how sooty and how dirty our exhaust fumes are on GRs. So in the recent video, when I was talking about cheap mods, I'll put it up here, I was saying, okay, let's try to see if we can do something good for the car without spending money or spending very little money. So what I did is I showed you, I plugged the hole in the intake pipe on top of the turbo, and I bought a silicone hose and I routed it from my PCV exit on the crankcase housing all the way to the box. So I put just a very, very simple plastic jug, let's call it, okay? And I wanted to see how things worked out. So the car immediately felt more positive, and I saw that a lot of soot came out. But since this is just an improvised test solution, because you can also do it using, another jug that is, purpose built and that has, let's say, a filter on top of it that filters to air, but this does not comply with emission regulations, but this is a possibility. So what to do if you want to do the job right? I called my friends at HEL Performance and I shouted out, I said, listen, I've got this issue. What solution have you built? Because I've been so happy with their oil radiator. And they were so nice to me, and they were like, oh yeah, AJ, we worked very hard to create a great solution. So we'll send you down the parts and you can have a look at them and see how they go in your car. And I'm like, okay, thank you very much. Let's see what it is. I received the parts today, and wow, I am astounded of the quality. So the catch can itself is a beautiful aluminum machined part with its dipstick. Look at that, red aluminum for the GR, perfectly machined, with a high quality filter inside. This separates down here the oil. It goes back in and back out again. And from here we go from our crankcase PCV with the tube, and out here we go to the intake tract. So all the stock functionality is left intact. And this is very beautiful. Just look at this bracket. Why did I prefer to get this kit over any others? Because this beautiful aluminum laser engraved bracket, where sits just flush. Look at that. So it's just perfectly flush with the catch can, actually attaches two stock mounting parts that are the stock bolts where your bonnet latch is, just on top of the radiator. And this has been made with this specific profile in a way that it extends towards the center of the car, but is very slim on this side. Therefore, you will not have problems with large intakes like the Venturi, the MST, and in my case, the one that I designed with my team and that I use on my car. So in this case, you have no issues whatsoever, and you can just use the parts on the car, plus retaining the functionality that you would not have given the fact that with this you can help suck out the sooty air from the PCV valve and the crankcase, and instead of just let's say accepting the positive ventilation that comes out naturally from it. And this once more helps the PCV itself to work better and to be clean. So this is a great install, and I'm very happy with it. Also, its tubes already are silicone, and they come already fitted in this way. So on the other side, you just have to use the original adapters. So this is like a very, very easy 10-minute install. And it's so easy that now I'll show you. And let's go to it. Okay, here we are in my small home workshop. And now I'm going to show you how easy it's going to be to install this catch can kit from HEL Performance. Okay, so here's what we have. As we saw, the catch can, we have its bracket, the two pre-assembled tubes, and we need a small hammer, a 3mm Allen key, a 13mm wrench, and a 10mm wrench. That's all. This I used just because I had some specific brackets that I will show you. So usually I don't like using hammers in the workshop. When I used to own the company where we did all the modifications, I almost never let anybody touch a hammer. But in this case, we have to, because let me just remove the engine cover. Okay, so this will just go here for the moment. And first things first, I had done this modification I talked to you about, where I routed directly from the PCV, that is the location here, you see. Look how oily it is. Very, very oily. And I routed it down here to this tube, and look how it dirtied all my inner chassis. Yeah, exactly. So this is not what you want. What you will find on the stock car is a tube running just from here all the way back to the intake tract. And in this case, in my intake, I have just a plug that hopefully I can get out. And here we have the plug. So let's keep a clean workspace always, so you don't get messed up with your things. Now, as I was saying, these two bolts that are your hood latch bolts come from the inside, and the rear bolts are spot welded to the car. But it's very easy. You just have to tap it slightly with a hammer. Okay guys, so I took the bolts off the hood latch, and yeah, the bolts on later models of Gen 1s are let's say seam welded in 3 points. So what I did is I just used a chisel. I used a chisel and a hammer, and paying a lot of attention not to hurt myself, and always with gloves on, and I took the 3 welds off. So easy enough. So now let's get to it. First thing is we want to install this beautiful laser cut mounting, and in order to do this, I see that we need to relocate these tubes, this connector, electrical connector, sorry for that. Okay. So I spy with my little eye, fingers not getting through something. So I don't have the tool I would like to have, but this one will be perfect. There we go. This is 1 and 2 here. And pop these out, and these have been foreseen in the bracket I saw already, so we can just retain them. Okay, so we will be able to pop these right back in. So now the bracket that will be installed in this position. And here we go, 1 and 2. So this was tops the hardest job to do. So I would say actually not that hard at all. Okay, so since I didn't look like the look of the nuts anymore because they had the welding behind them, what I've done is I taken some vibration washers and some self-locking nuts. Therefore nothing will ever move again, and I'm just putting new ones in because in this way it feels safer for me. So we were saying I will put the bracket back down. I have done a bit of a mess here because I had not cleaned up well enough. Actually, you don't even need the washers here because we don't have enough fillet. So you just can use self-locking bolts, they will be fine. Use some good quality self-locking bolts. And there you go. So this is done. Super easy. So now we've got 2 10mm wrenches, one either side. We just lock this in. I always prefer not to lock something completely on one side, but to come close on the first side and then lock it on the second. So you see how beautiful this is looking to me now, just matching up perfectly with the holes that we have on top of the radiator. And this means that we can just reconnect very easily our two cable ties from the harness. Yeah, nothing is gonna move this anymore, I assure you. Yeah, and we see that we're full in the self-locking, so we just reallocate these. Actually, we will zip tie these, okay? Yeah. And install our catch cap. So these are small parts, so only for this I'll take my gloves off. And this will go just like this. And there you have it. It's already done. Since it's aluminum, I'm not using any thread locker, so it won't be an issue in this way. It's just gonna work perfectly. Mildly tighten them without exaggerating. And that's done. And if you manage to look in here, you also see the filtering element. There is a very fine specific groove mesh, and it looks very good to me. I will actually zip tie my cable into location, and I'll do it in this way. And this is going to be a carefree solution. It's no longer going to move. And if you want, you can also take the stock parts away. Otherwise, just leave it like this. It's fully retro-compatible, and this is why I am leaving the stock plugs here just installed as they are. Not a problem at all. So once more, here nothing is moving. Always cut your zip ties at the base. I'm happy with this. And so, this done, the next thing I want to check is that this hose is not clashing inside. So in my case it's fine. If it is, just slide it a bit further up and down in this way, and it won't. But already we have all our tolerances are perfect. So you got your dipstick here, and there you go. This is how you see if it's full or not. Beautiful red, color coded to the GR. Perfect. So now is the last and easiest part, that is just routing our hoses. So once more, you can just use the standard clips. I prefer to use these, and this one with a 90-degree goes back here into the intake. And that's very easily done. Just make sure that you're all the way down. And we want to free this up a bit more. So this is the way mechanical work is. Just always takes a lot of double checking everything to make sure, because you're not doing these jobs every day. When you do them, you want it done well. Obviously, if you do them yourself, but at least you see what we are talking about. So I'll just keep the zip tie up a bit now, and I'll push my hose all the way in. And we are there. I want to secure that my routing is good. My cameraman will just give me for a moment. Yeah, I'm all the way in. And more. Thank you. I said cameraman, but actually it's my fiance. Thank you, baby. Okay, so I located the tube from the intake here, and this just took me a couple of minutes because, as I said, I have my own connectors up there that are a bit more rigid. And now I will connect it to the lower connection here in our catch can. And these, it's enough to connect by hand. Not a problem. They won't come undone solidly by hand, but that's enough. Also, because if you do use a wrench to fix them, you have to make sure that you are using something between the wrench and the aluminium finishing itself. That is very beautiful, because this can get damaged and it will ruin your job. Now we connect the upper one. Okay. And now I route this back straight into the intake. So for this, just very quickly, I open up here. Let's see if this fits now. Yep. And I just route it inside to my intake hose. So don't worry if there's a bit of oil on it. This will just help you put it in easier. And as I said, you can use the spring retainer that is there on the stock car, or as I do, you can just use an actual metal one. This way you're sure that nothing will ever move again until you decide it does. So just make sure that nothing is touching, for example, the cables on your coil packs or anything. And let's go and see now what has happened in this cheap solution that I used on the car before. And then I'll finish by properly routing the cables. That's why I can take this hose out, look at the soot in it. I'll show you better. Look at this. Stay on me, please. This is just a hose. Look at what comes through your crankcase. And it's full. And I'll show you more now. And just put this on the ground. It's disgustingly dirty. But there's going to be a little bit of cleaning for me here. And look at this. Spilling out all the oil. And look what is in here. Disgusting. Yeah, exactly. So this is what would go inside your engine. And now doesn't anymore. So here we're done. And so just an observation. Here we have our alternator. And okay, this is a round edge, so there's no problem if there is contact here. And we don't have issues with the fact that we have the two tubes touching each other, because this is a non-issue, because temperature is not an issue here. So this is gonna be fine. And I would say that at this stage, we can just put the engine cover on and we're done. So as easy as that. Yeah. Just routing the other cable behind it and it's finished. And this is the installation done. I will zip tie them here because I prefer this as a solution, and for the rest it's all done. So I hope you like this install video. Let me know in the descriptions if you want more of this, because we will get it. And let me know if there's something else specific you want to know about the engine, the car and builds. And some further things are coming from me with or without this in the next days. So looking forward to your comments. Thank you very much. Cheers now.